Okay, America, YouTube. I'm back live. Um, first of all, I want to say my last video last night was a mess. It was a major clusterfuck, and not at all what I was kind of wanting to do. But it was a mess last night. That video. Beyond that, I think it was 2 or 3 nights ago. I was a little bit hungover, or sick, and the way that I wrote a comment, and someone today, you could tell like they were very negative in the way that they framed their question, talking about they didn't understand what I was saying, and really trying to condemn me is basically inept and incompetent. Because of that, again, I am dyslexic, but beyond that, I want to say not only am I dyslexic, I was sick at the time I wrote the comment, and of course that had to do with again the Democratic Party, not so much the Democratic Party, but Hillary Clinton's campaign still trying to run the same narrative about that stupid, nasty woman comment that no one cared about, and might have been in some ways the single thing that lost it for her, because that was such an inept fucking thing. And it's not as if though there's any shortage of things Trump has said that might be sexist. And you can talk about grabbing him by the pussy, but at least he said something that was sexist. Running on that fucking "I'm a nasty woman." So you're saying he's right? Like, what in the hell is the point in saying that? That's neither here nor there. That's uh, insignificant, um, inconsequential. The point is, you could read my comment, not as much towards the end, but it was done at a time when I was not in really any shape to even make a comment. But I was just so, I guess, triggered, as feminists say, or whoever the hell else says, about that, by that, for whatever reason, where I was just like, I have to say something. This is absurd. You lost a fucking election that was essentially given to you. It was a layup. That was a slam dunk. You're Shaquille O'Neal, and you lost a reality show star, and you're seeing how easy he is to lose to now, and you're still trying to run with that excuse all these years later. It's absurd. Stop hiding behind your gender. Not every damn thing is misogyny. And I had to say that. Anyways, give me a minute. I'll be back. Ow. Ow. You ever question whether or not the government is sending shinobi ninjas after you? No? Well, that's because you're not artistic. Also, I always wonder, have you ever watched Family Guy, and there's these things that were a video game, and like where Mayor Adam Rest is talking to Meg, and he is con- convinced there's these things after him. They're bouncing around, and he kills one of them. Sometimes I wonder if it's not them. I don't know. But anyways, the point is, my house is haunted. It's constantly shit squeaking and bumping, and I can never get rest, and it's fucking hell. Sometimes it's my dog, but most of the fucking time it's really weird. My dog will be laying beside me, not doing anything, and my dog will look up and look around, and she'll see something, and there ain't nothing there, and it's really weird. Anyways, beyond that, moving forward, let's take the political compass test, shall we? I wouldn't take this test, but honestly, I really wouldn't take this test, but honestly, I think that it's better that I do this than bitch about every random thing that comes to my mind, or something. Someone said something somewhere I don't like. I know why that does get old and annoying, and it makes me look like the problem, so I have to stop doing that. So let's do this. I don't know what else to do. I took 5 tests, and they're hard to do. I made a 5-part video the other day, and I'm taking too long talking to you. But these tests can be hard to take, but I'm going to get to this now and just take the damn test, because at least it's something. Before taking the test, please note, and this is bullshit, please note that this isn't a survey and these aren't questions. There are propositions to question the logic of individual ones that irritate you. Miss the point. Some propositions are extreme and some are moderate. That's how we can show you whether you lean towards extremism or moderation on the compass. Your responses should not be overthought. Some of them are intentionally vague. Their purpose is to trigger reactions in the mind, measuring feelings and prejudices rather than detailed opinions on policy. Well, okay, well, here's a fucking question then. Why don't you just ask me a fucking political question and tell me what the fuck I am instead of, goddamn it, yeah, I know you're an asshole. Yeah, probably, who knows? But the point is, it's like, am I a liberal or a conservative, a Nazi, a communist? What the fuck am I? Anarchist, libertarian? Tell me. Like, well, you're a radical or a moderate. So what do I really not even know? I mean, like, what is the fucking point of this test then? Shit on it. Let's take it. Okay, just a few propositions to start with. No, they're questions. Well, let's how see the country and the world. How do you see the country and the world? If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of China. Strongly agree. The entire point of capitalism, as you would roll it out, is, and again, I'm not totally anti-capitalist, although I often sound that way, and sometimes might even say I am when I'm pissed about something, but I'm not a socialist, not even democratic socialist. I'm a social democrat, and I'm a humanist, liberal, and I don't want to say I'm a cultural Marxist because that gets all kinds of fucking weird and complexities, and like, I don't know about that, but I'm a liberal humanist basically, and what I believe in is that everything should serve the basic good of humanity. And I believe kind of the opposite of a lot of religious people, as well as to some extent social Darwinists. I believe the opposite of what they believe. I believe that man is the point. Instead of everything else serving, instead of him serving a purpose onto something else, I believe he is the point. He is the purpose. In other words, what doesn't work towards men, and when I say men, I mean human, but men or women or children or whatever the fuck, and even animals, honestly, but at least dogs and cats or whatever. But the point is, anything that doesn't work to their benefit is bad. Everything that works towards their benefit is good. So my sense of social democracy and liberal humanism is to help humanity. Now, of course, you have to keep in mind the earth works towards the benefit of man. So if man does anything to destroy the earth, then that is bad for man, and that should not be allowed. And anything needed to be done to stop man from doing that needs to be done. But ultimately, their health, their safety, their protection, their freedom, that should be the main core value of any society that is worth a fuck to begin with. And that is what I believe, not pointless traditions and trivial nonsense that many people conduct and believe in. I don't believe in that. So strongly agree that, again, the question is, if economic globalization is inevitable, basically you can't get around it, I guess it should primarily serve humanity. And I don't think it is impossible to get around, but yes, it should serve humanity. And I don't think it should serve transnational corporations. I'd always support my country, whether it was right or wrong. Strongly disagree. I don't support my country, as I've told you many times, not to make this a video about this stupid topic, but I'm against circumcision. America does that on a continual basis. I'm the first one to tell my country to go fuck itself. I think that's wrong. And a number of other things, like anything having to do with the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, back, not that it's a thing anymore, but the Vietnam War, Korea War, the countless wars we're in, slavery, the destruction of the Native American people. Right now, the Keystone Pipeline, and a lot of what you're doing to screw Indian groups out of land, running pipelines, oil pipelines through their land that can create oil and cause them, and even other communities around them in some cases, possible sickness. In the things that we do, no, I don't support any of that. So absolutely not. I don't support my country, whether it's right or wrong. I think you're constantly, ultimately, often constantly wrong, and you're very wrong about a lot of things. Now, that also doesn't mean I give Saudi Arabia and China and even, for example, Russia and a lot of other countries a fucking break when they're being full of shit. But with that being said, I absolutely do not think I'm going to support my country no matter what, because I don't. Sorry. No one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. I agree. I kind of, I think I quote Proverbs, so to speak. As Carlin says, pride comes before a fall. Pride comes before, pride cometh before a fall. Or in other words, it's not good to be too proud that your head becomes just full of shit and you're an idiot, because you're so proud of yourself and you don't think that, you become, it should never develop into an ego problem. Let's put it that way. And also, you should be proud of your individual self, your individual talents, what you're able to learn to do. Not that I have a lot in that category, hence the drinking. But anyways, when it's race or anything else, you shouldn't be too proud of it. Now, on the other hand, if your country does something right, like the United States, for example, in some ways we have probably the best. So far, we have had the greatest rights towards free speech and also towards gun rights in the world, and I think that's a positive. I'm a little proud of that. I'm not going to lie, but largely I disagree that you can't help where you're born, but you shouldn't be ashamed of it either. You shouldn't be personally ashamed of your race, your country, or anything else. And there are a lot of people who push that ideal, and those people are just as toxic and disgusting as the conservatives who wave their flag all day and want to say that America can never do anything wrong. But with that being said, pride comes before a fall, and you should never be too proud of anything. So, our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. I disagree. I think there are things white people did, just like there are things Japanese people did, and there are things Native Americans can be proud of, and even African can be proud of. All kinds of groups of people can be proud of. But again, you don't choose your race. And second of all, you say superior qualities. Now, I'm guessing you mean biological. I don't necessarily accept the biological existence of race. I think race is largely non-existent, and it's a concept. It's a thing. It's made in your head. It's made up in your brain. Cuckoo. And there are people who I even respect that would greatly disagree with that. I told you about the guy. You may hate him, but Tom Metzger is a guy who I'll listen to him, and he's right about some shit when it comes to economic class and environmental issues and foreign policy, and occasionally even social issues. You'll get more truth out of him than you will a Democrat. But when he goes on his tirades about racial superiority and race, I think that's absurd. There is no race. It's skin tone. But I will say, with that being said, if you accept that, then you have to accept, as some people do, that you have to accept there is no real differences between the genders either. So feminism, for you feminists out there, total bullshit and made up. You can't say men are bad because they're men, and they're naturally toxic and macho and pig-headed and stupid, and they're going to do this and that, because that's not true, because I don't believe in the biological existence of race. I don't think men are any more genetically inclined to commit a murder or a rape or something than a woman is. I don't believe in that, and I don't buy that. I don't believe in race or gender, so I don't believe there is a race. So I'm going to say I disagree. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I agree. If a conservative, for example, suppose Alex Jones, if he really did believe in this, and of course he doesn't, or Tucker Carlson or anyone else did believe in free speech for themselves, but they were willing to extend that to me if possible, and then I'm more than willing to do the same for them. Therefore, if we are friends, at least when it comes to, we're comrades in that way. I agree with them on guns. I can work with them on guns. The feminists hate porn, of course. One of the reasons they are one of the veins of my existence, and a constant thorn in my eye, not only my eye, but my ass. But with that being said, they will work with Christians to get rid of things for like porn, for example, even though conservatives want to get rid of abortion and birth control rights for women and a lot of other things that help women. And they will work against people like me, who are probably ultimately more pro-women at the end of the day than they are, or the conservatives are, rather. But they will still work with conservatives against me to get rid of porn. Some of them, not all of them. There are some pro-porn feminists. But with that being said, or sex-positive feminists, they are out there and they do exist. But I guess Lacey Green has said that before. She's kind of one of them. Lacey Green is probably one of the more reasonable and logical feminists, but they will work with conservatives. So the point of this is to say that you can have a enemy who's your friend because they're working against an enemy, basically. So if you're reasonable, more reasonable than not, even if I don't agree with you all the time, even if you are directly opposed to me on a number of issues, and not even like Reagan said in terms of, if you agree with someone 70% of the time, but even if you disagree with me more than 70% of the time, I can still probably consider you a comrade in arms or a comrade or so forth, brother in arms, as far as at least you disagree with this other prick who disagrees with something even more ridiculous, and they are even more against me in some form or another array than you are. I can still call you a comrade, or you are a friend, and my enemy is my friend. So you're my friend. There, whatever. So I agree. The enemy of my friend is my friend. I agree. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. I disagree, but it really depends on what you're talking about. But I would like to think that it's like a genocide or some kind of extermination or something was going on in the world that was so bad it was totally condemned by international law. That is to say, the UN and a committee of nations, and the majority of them agreed to condemn it. They would agree with your military action. But for the most part, I'm against any form of military action if it's not needed for the absolute protection of yourself. But if there is, for example, a case like the Holocaust where you have to go in and help to save people who are being slaughtered, murdered, and most of them, of course, are innocent people, then you need to do that. Whether the world agrees or doesn't agree, you have to do what you have to do. But for the most part, I'm against it. And if you look at the bombing raids in Syria and much of what military action we're taking now, it's not even a case of like in Iraq, when the Congress never approved Iraq, but there was at least this debate and people talked about it. We've now moved past that, where they will bomb a country, as Trump has done in bombing the Syrian airports over a chemical weapons attack we never even proved. And again, I recommend a YouTube user named Syrian Girl, who's very interesting. She's a very intelligent woman that I like listening to occasionally, not a lot, but sometimes. But the point is in regards to any kind of military action that would defy international law. First of all, I think you should have the approval of Congress. But no, I don't agree with that largely. But I'm going to say just disagree instead of strongly disagree, because there probably are some cases where if someone's really being slaughtered and murdered in mass, like to an extreme enough way. And I'm not even talking about like the Israel-Gaza situation. I'm talking about something far worse than that, like the Holocaust. And, it is up to larger nations and other nations to go in and help, because obviously I wouldn't want to be among them or be killed. And I feel a strong instinct to help them on that level. I feel altruism and an altruistic desire to help those people. So I am going to say I only disagree as opposed to strongly disagree. There is now a worrying infusion of information entertainment. Disagree. Again, the left, what we are in, and this goes back to cultural Marxism, and one of the things I believe in, is it's in a war. We're in a war for performance, in a war of performance art. We have to outperform the right wing and the conservatives. And in my opinion, some parts of the Democratic Party and the left. But if the left wants to take power, the authentic left, people like, for example, Kyle Kalinske and Secular Talk, if he wants to ever gain any kind of real influence or control over the culture of the society, I think you're going to have to outperform them. You're going to have to be more entertaining and out-entertain them. And that's part of what the hippies understood back in the 60s, and so did the beatniks and other baby boomers. So we need to return to that way of doing things. So I disagree, but I don't strongly disagree, because sometimes a lot of it does just become outright propaganda or bullshit. Fox News is very good at spinning total bullshit. The entire Russian narrative, to some extent, though I didn't really care in terms of watching it, but I mean, a great deal of that was probably done for ratings. So there is some bullshit involved there, but I don't totally strongly disagree. I just disagree. Next page. And I'm going to end this because it's getting to 20 minutes. I'll be back in a little bit. I'll be back in a little while.